Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately, or buying lately. Today's video is a quarterly book haul. I think the last time I showed you my recent physical acquisitions was in November or so. It's been about 4 months. So I thought I would share what books I picked up basically over the holiday season and winter. Some of these I've already read and talked about, and others I hope to get to soon. I'm not going to go deep dive into any of the synopses here. I either discussed them when I did them in my reading wrap-ups, or I will do in a future wrap-up once I finish it. I thought I would start with a subcategory of books that I enjoyed enough that I wanted to get a copy for my bookshelf, beginning with books 2 and 3 of the Emily Wilde trilogy. Book 3, The Compendium of Lost Tales, recently came out, and I've already read it, but overall, I very much enjoyed this somewhat cozy yet dark fae fantasy trilogy. This is a book that I had an e-arc of, Grave Empire by Richard Swan. I don't know that I loved it more than the Empire of the Wolf trilogy, but I did enjoy this opening salvo to a new series. Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher is one of my very favorite books by her, and when I saw that this beautiful edition was being published, I knew I needed to get it for my T. Kingfisher collection, because I didn't previously have a physical copy of this book. Another of my favorite authors is Susanna Kearsley, and last year I read The King's Messenger, the UK version that came out. It was only just published in the States this past month, so I went to a book signing. I got this one signed. I now have almost every single book by her signed. I'm just missing one. So hopefully in a couple years when she comes back to do another signing for whatever she writes next, I will get a copy of the one I'm missing as well, and then have a complete set. This is a historical fiction with a strong romantic subplot. And finally, my favorite book that I read in 2024 was Wolfskin by Juliette Marillier, and once I finished listening to that one on audiobook, I knew I had to get a copy. Okay, picking up there with, these are books that I haven't read yet, Fox Mask by Juliette Marillier, which is the completion of the duology. I purchased both of those off of eBay, so they were used. And this one, I'm still trying to get this old library sticker off the spine, if anyone has any tips. Another author whose backlist I'm trying to read is Louis McMaster Bujold, who has written the Vorkosigan Saga, science fiction, but also Curse of the Chalian, which I read a couple years ago and highly enjoyed. And it's standalone, but it also kind of launches a series, Pendrick and Desdemona series, I believe it's called. So I bought a couple of books in those series. This is The Hallowed Hunt, which I think comes before Curse of the Chalian, I think. And then there's Penrick's Progress, and I already had Paladin of Souls in paperback. So this will get me started on reading more of Louis McMaster Buljold's backlist. I love her writing style. I'll be tackling that kind of backlist read intermingled with my Mercedes Lackey read. These are some random acquisitions. A year or two ago, I really enjoyed Talon Sister by Jen Williams, which was only published in the UK. When I found out that the next book in that duology was coming out, I ordered it. I saw this Murder of Holly House, which seemed like a cozy holiday-themed murder mystery that unfortunately it arrived after Christmas, so I'm going to save it to read Christmas of this year. When I was at the book signing of Susanna Kearsley's novel, The King's Messenger, they were actually preparing to have Deanna Raybourn, who writes mysteries, come the following week. And I'd been hearing really good things about her Veronica Speedwell series. A Curious Beginning is the first in that series, so I picked it up. And they had the whole series arrayed there, I guess, in preparation for you to purchase them all and have her sign them. But I decided, let me start with the first one and see how I like it. And spoiler for my reading wrap-up, I recently read this one. I've already started the second of the series. Unfortunately, I didn't go to her signing, though. I was also intrigued by this murder mystery in a fantasy setting called Voyage of the Damned. I thought that the cover and this edition in general was just very pretty. The front says, "There will be magic, there will be murder." Hopefully this is a good time. Another somewhat of a detective story, because I guess I really do like mysteries, but usually when they're in a fantasy setting, my parents actually recommended this movie to me. It was a Sean Connery movie, but based on the book The Name of the Rose, and it is a historical fiction detective novel that is translated, I think, from Italian, I'm not sure. And I think it would be really fun to read this and then watch the movie. I think the main character may be a monk who is trying to solve a murder. Guess we'll find out. That I picked up this past month at my local bookstore because I made a promise I wanted to visit them once per month and get a book a month because I want them to stay in business. So I got that this month. Last month from there, I picked up Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. This is about an unlikely trio making some sort of journey across French battlefields during the Black Plague. I think it's like a knight, an orphan, and a troubled priest. I read Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman and enjoyed it, and heard that this one was kind of dark but funny. And a book that I pre-ordered that I was very excited about is Juliet Marillier's newest release, The Amber Owl. I was only able to find this from an Australian publisher, so I pre-ordered this from Australia. It took it a while to get here. It came out at the end of February, and it recently arrived, and I'm eager to dive into this one. I don't know what it's about. I just know it's Juliet Marillier, so I most likely will very much enjoy it. Over the past few months, I've also started picking up a couple classics, American literary classics, but also I got Shadow and Claw by Gene Wolfe, a science fiction classic. The Book of the New Sun is a science fiction series I've been meaning to tackle for a little while. I don't know why I'm so intimidated to start it, other than I guess I want to be able to give it the focus and dedication it deserves, so it is on my shelf when I'm ready for it. The American classics that I picked out to read in 2025 are Moby Dick, David Copperfield, because I started reading Demon Copperhead and then realized, no, I want to go back and read David Copperfield before I finish that. But I was really enjoying Demon Copperhead when I paused it. Flowers for Algernon, which I've heard is quite intense and might make me cry. And Gone with the Wind. So these, hopefully I will get to all 4 of these this year. And last, 2 of my favorite authors have recently come out with anthologies, so I grabbed them because I am trying to read more short stories. The first is Buried Deep by Naomi Novik, which I have read. And the second is Kate Elliott, The History of the World Begins in Ice, which is the opening line from the opening book in her Spirit Walker trilogy, which begins with Cold Magic, that I highly recommend. I think that's a very fun sort of steampunk spirit world adult fantasy with a romantic subplot, like an arranged marriage subplot to it. But so I think these are some short stories from that world and maybe assorted other tales as well. That feels like a lot. I've really been trying to track recently what I've been spending on books, and also I have been endeavoring, and I think I've been accomplishing, to read the physical books I purchase so I don't have too many piling up on my shelves. At the beginning of the year, I counted I have about 30 or so unread books on my shelf, and this was a lot of them. So every month I am making an effort to pick up these books because the reason I'm buying them is because I'm excited to read them. If you haven't already seen me talk about some of these books in a wrap-up, the hope is that I will be getting to them in the next few months. So let me know if there's any that you're particularly interested in or think that I should prioritize because I might really enjoy them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, don't forget to support your local library, she says, as she's standing surrounded by a pile of books she bought. Thanks.